G'day guys, how's it going? I'm Aaron Whitnall. This is ACWSport, and here is my review for Week 10 of the 2017-2018 Premier League season, starting at Old Trafford, where Manchester United just edged out Spurs in what wasn't, to be honest with you, the best game you've ever watched in your life. I almost fell asleep watching it, but it was another solid defensive display by Manchester United. They're still the only team in Europe to not concede at home this season. In the league anyway. And yeah, it was just a very solid performance. You could see that Tottenham miscame big time. Definitely question marks over Pochettino's team selection to start Sanchez on the bench, put Dyer back into defence, and then to also start Llorente on the bench and have Son up front, because surely you brought Llorente in to be the striker that comes in for when Kane's injured. But instead he's gone for Son. Now, don't get me wrong, Son has got very good movement, but you just wonder if having a proper striker up front might have made a bit of a difference for him. But yeah, interesting decisions there from Pochettino. Spurs didn't really threaten too much, to be honest with you. After the first 15 minutes, they looked pretty comfortable. The first 15 minutes belonged to United. But again, there weren't really too many clear-cut chances for either side. The second half opened up a little bit more for Manchester United. Spurs only had one major chance in the game, and that was when Eriksen dinked it over the top towards Dele Alli, who just couldn't quite get his foot on it properly. Otherwise, Spurs would have been in the lead and may have won the game. You almost got the impression as the game went on that whoever scored first was probably going to win this game. Lukaku then came close, hitting the edge or hitting the foot of the post from a very powerful header. But in the end, it was Mourinho's substitution that worked. Now, he got a lot of stick for when he took Rashford off, which at the time you could kind of justify the fans doing, because Rashford was being so positive throughout the game. And it makes you wonder whether or not he might have been better taking off someone else. However, when you're bringing on Antony Marital, you can expect pretty much exactly the same, just an absolute live wire. And he proved that. And Mourinho actually changed his tactics a little bit when he brought Martial on, because he got Lukaku to not necessarily drop a little bit more, but he pushed Martial up top with Lukaku, whereas Rashford, even though he was supposed to be kind of playing there, you could see he was drifting a little bit further out wide, and it just wasn't quite working. But boom, Lukaku drops back, Martial goes further up, and you could just see with Martial's electric speed in those dying 10 minutes, and Man United have scored more goals in the last 10 minutes than any other side in England so far. He was a live wire, and Spurs just couldn't deal with it. I think they're going to be epically disappointed when they look back at the game and see the way they conceded the goal, because it was just so basic. Just a punt upfield from David De Gea, flick on from Lukaku, Martial got ahead of Dyer, and yeah, managed to finish it. And that is what got Manchester United the 3 points. And even though it may not necessarily be the most beautiful football to watch at times, at the end of the day, Jose will be very happy where they are at this stage of the season. Still competing on all fronts, still looking good on all fronts. They'll just be keeping the gap as close as they can, waiting for the likes of Pogba and Ibrahimovic to return, for example. So, very good win for Manchester United. I'm going to move to the bottom of the Premier League now instead of focusing on the other teams at the top, just because there was such a fascinating game at Selhurst Park where Crystal Palace hosted West Ham. And at half-time, you thought, wow, Palace, after a couple of spirited performances, are dead and buried once again. However, when you actually watch the game, Palace, how they didn't win this game is beyond me. But West Ham, you've got to give them credit. 2 very, very good goals to be 2-0 up at half-time. Javier Hernandez scoring his 41st Premier League goal, which all of them have come from inside of the box. But then Andre Ayew, who seems to be in a real purple patch of form at the moment, scores an absolute beauty from about 25 yards, swivels in and out of a couple of defenders, and just unleashes an effort into the top corner that was simply unstoppable. But the key performer for West Ham in this game was Joe Hart. He was unbelievable in goal. And he actually deserved to be on the winning side. It was a real shame because he was really rolling back the years with his performance there. But Palace didn't give in, and in the end, they got their reward. Now, look, West Ham gave away a very silly penalty in the opening minutes of the second half, but it's what happened in the 97th minute that has got everyone talking, because West Ham were clear. They were well up the pitch. Antonio, one of their best players, had the ball. All he needed to do was keep it in the corner, and the ref would have blown the whistle. But he didn't. He tried to cross it. There was no West Ham players in the box. Palace got the ball, punted it back up pitch, falls to Wilfried Zaha. And at first you think, oh, Zaha's too far wide. He's not going to be able to get a shot away here. But instead, beautiful bit of skill, wivels himself back inside of the West Ham defence, gets himself into the box and gets a shot off into the far bottom corner. And Selhurst Park erupts because it was absolutely brilliant. Zaha almost seems to be trying to keep Palace up on his own at the moment. But no, just because of the goals and that, obviously. But no, fantastic performance from Palace. You can see they've got a real fight there. Hodgson has got them fighting more than what we saw earlier on this season. But they will. I think both teams will be very disappointed that this game ended in a draw when they're both so desperate for a win. But West Ham more than Palace, considering they were 2-0 up. When you look at, obviously, the big talking points over the past few weeks, it has been Everton. They are in the relegation zone, which seems to be such a shock to, well, everyone in football, because Everton are, a big, well-established Premier League side. A lot of people often look at them as the best side outside of the top six. But again, even though Unsworth has taken charge, which is the man that they want for now, anyway, he's still caretaker. Leicester, on the other hand, had also sacked Craig Shakespeare because they weren't performing. Brought in Claude Puel, which raised a few eyebrows, but wow. If Claude Puel manages to get Leicester to continue playing the way they did against Everton in this game, they are going to be more than fine this season. And the player that really stood out was Andre Gray. He was unplayable in this match. Everton just couldn't deal with him, and you could really see that with Leicester's first goal because it was beautiful. It came from, I think it was an Everton corner or an Everton attack anyway. But Gray, the ball gets then cleared out to Gray, who's probably about 20 yards out from his own goal. He turns and runs almost the length of the pitch, taking on about 4 players. And you can see Mahrez making this run outside of him onto the right. And you think to yourself, go on, put it to Mahrez, put it to Mahrez, put it to Mahrez. Don't hog it, don't hog it, don't hog it. And he did, laid it off perfectly. Mahrez with a first-time ball across the box. And there was Jamie Vardy at the back post to tap in. And it was like watching the Leicester that won the Premier League a few years ago. So yeah, truly beautiful goal. And Leicester fans will be hoping there's a lot more goals like that to come this season. And then the second goal, bit of a calamitous moment, a very unfortunate own goal, but Leicester were very good for the win. Everton didn't really offer too much, and Unsworth will very much be looking forward to getting back to Goodison Park and seeing if he can really get their season back on track from home. Back to the top of the Premier League now. Manchester City win again. What a shock. But they gave themselves a few problems in this game against West Brom. Now, in the opening couple of minutes, you're thinking to yourself, this is going to be a steamroller. City looks so good. Leroy Sané scored a beaut on 10 minutes. He reminds me more and more of Gareth Bale the more that I watch his technique and the kinds of goals that he scores. So it could be very exciting for City, if he continues to play like that and obviously continues to develop. But out of nowhere, West Brom equalised, and you were like, wow, what's going on here? And it was almost like City had forgot that West Brom had 2 players up front for this game. And it almost seemed to catch them by surprise. And West Brom did give it a good go, but really, I know the score was 3-2, and it was a real shock because it was a lot closer than people thought it would be. But when you watch the highlights, City dominated, really, and how it couldn't have been 6 or 7 on another day is beyond me. This could have been Stoke all over again. They did take the lead again through Fernandinho. Raheem Sterling scored as well, and then in the last minute, Otamendi with a calamitous moment chested it straight to Rondon, who put it in. But yeah, another win for Manchester City, and I just can't wait to see them play Arsenal next week now, because obviously 2 very similar styles of football going at it. And speaking of Arsenal, they were taken by surprise by Swansea a little bit at the Emirates. Swansea took a surprise lead, caught everyone off guard. But Arsenal did manage to turn it around. Kolasinac is having a great season for the Gunners so far. He equalised with a stunning strike, and he was man of the match for Arsenal, looking back at the highlights. And then Aaron Ramsey managed to get in and get Arsenal all 3 points. So a fairly standard win in the end for Arsenal at the Emirates over Swansea, but Swansea gave it a good go in the first half anyway. Well, I say that. They didn't really have that much possession, but they gave it a go in terms of when they did actually manage to attack, they took their chance. Chelsea, they earned a very hard-fought away win at Bournemouth, which can be a tricky place to go. Chelsea, though, should have really been out of sight in this game. 1-0 was a bit of a flattering scoreline to Bournemouth. Morata just wouldn't quite fall for him in this game. But Eden Hazard, in the end, winning it with a strike from quite a tight angle, beating Begovic at his near post, which I think he'd be quite disappointed about. But yeah, it's a good win for Chelsea. Not really too much else to talk about from that game. And yeah, they roll on to face Manchester United at Stamford Bridge next week. Liverpool, they got back to winning ways at Anfield anyway, because they've been away in the last few games, and obviously they were destroyed by Tottenham last week. They beat Huddersfield 3-0 at Anfield. Should have been 4, but Salah's penalty was saved. And it's a bit disappointing from a Huddersfield perspective, because they just didn't really turn up. They just gave Liverpool way too much respect. And once Liverpool had got that first, the floodgates open. Wonderful goal from Gigi Wijnaldum to finish it all off as well. Really, really like watching him in a Liverpool shirt. I think he's such a solid and consistent player for Liverpool. Watford was surprisingly beaten by Stoke at home. And this is a real shock because of how well Watford have played recently. But no, Stoke won very well. Routine goal off the training ground. Straight from a corner. It was played out to Fletcher, who caught it first time on the volley. And it managed to go straight into the bottom corner that he was aiming for. So good, solid 3 points away from home there for Stoke. But unfortunately, the talking point isn't necessarily that Stoke beat Watford. It was the fact the players kept clashing in the second half. And in the end, it saw an ugly scene where Troy Deeney and Joe Allen came together, and it's now seen Troy Deeney get a 3-game ban. No one likes to see it in football. It's a real shame that it kind of got to that, but sometimes it does happen, unfortunately. Burnley, they picked up a 1-0 win over Newcastle in Sean Dyche's 50th anniversary at the club. I've got to be honest, it's sad to say that I do think, even though he's done a fantastic job with Burnley, I don't think Burnley are going to be able to hold on to him, and I do expect him to go to Everton. Just because I think he's good enough to manage a club at that level. He's proved it now by getting good results for Burnley in the Premier League. He's established them as a Premier League side. And I think he deserves the opportunity to go on to a bigger club. But good win for Burnley. Both Burnley and Newcastle, very well organised sides. Again, not really too much to talk about from this game. But in the end, Burnley did manage to get the victory through a Hendricks goal. Not too far from time. Newcastle will be a bit disappointed to have lost the game, but still, their season, just like Burnley's, is going very, very well so far. And then to finish off, Brighton and Southampton, they drew 1-1 in the derby of the weekend, in a way, the South Coast derby. And Southampton took the lead, a bit of a sloppy goal overall. It's Davis that returned the ball in that ended up going into the back of the net. But for me, the talking point is Brighton's goal, because even though, Murray did well to get the header in, for me, Fraser Foster should be doing so much better with that, because I didn't think the header was particularly powerful. And when you look at how much of a hand Foster got to it, you would expect him to push it out. But, points shared, and I think both teams will be fairly satisfied that they just didn't lose the game. And that is pretty much everything that I have to say about Week 10 of the Premier League. But please, comment below, let me know, what are your major talking points and your thoughts about all the action that took place this previous weekend, and what games are you looking forward to the most in Week 11? As always, I'm Aaron Whitnall, and I will see you guys again soon. Please don't forget to subscribe to ACW Sport.